Over the last month, the U.S. city of Austin, Texas, has lived in terror. A string of bombings, targeting mostly people of color, occurred around the city. The first two attacks, on March 2nd and March 12th respectively, claimed the two fatalities, two African-American men, one of them just 17 years old. A third attack, also on the 12th of March, injured a 75-year-old Hispanic woman. Over the next 2 weeks, the bomber changed tactics multiple times, presumably to make it harder to track him down. And although he still caused injuries, there were thankfully no more fatalities. With police closing in, the bomber, a 23-year-old white so-called Christian, blew himself up on Wednesday, March 21st, injuring an Austin police officer in the process. He left behind a recorded confession that apparently offers no insight into his motive. And this latest incident of homegrown terror follows the school shooting in Parkland, Florida, only by weeks. And that school shooting, of course, is just one of 18 separate school shootings in the U.S. in just the first 11 weeks of 2018. And of course, we must not forget the mass shooting in Vegas last year, which left 58 people dead and another 500 injured. Or the fact that murders by U.S. white supremacists more than doubled in 2017. And I could go on and on and on. I am saddened that more families and more communities feel the pain of violence and loss. I despair that so much hate can exist in a person or a group of people that they would premeditate and murder others and believe in any way, shape, or form that it was somehow justified. I am angry that some citizens, disillusioned with a, yes, broken system that has allowed so few to hoard the majority of wealth in the U.S. at the expense of so many, have in reaction given power to those who preach, promote, defend, and empower this hate. The Austin bombings are not a case of mental illness. This is terrorism. And had this terrorist looked different, or believed in a different religion, or his targeted victims been middle class or Caucasian, we know that many on the so-called right would have been the first to say so. I am tired of hearing politicians and pundits preach that America is special, the greatest nation in the world, a shining city on a hill. I'm sorry. I know that many Americans want to believe that. I have people in my own family who I love who want to believe that. But it is just mythologizing. I do believe in the principles on which the U.S. was founded. Justice, equality, liberty, to name just a few. But let's not kid ourselves. The U.S. has never really lived up to those principles. Whether it was the Constitution, the founding document of the United States, enshrining slavery and defining slaves, actual men and women, as being only 3/5 of a human being, or the atrocities committed by the U.S. government against Native Americans, or Jim Crow after the Civil War, or each wave of immigrants turning against the waves that follow them, or the U.S. government turning a blind eye to the Holocaust until it was exposed for all the world to see, or those who ignore the complexities of the continuing conflict between Israel and Palestine out of some misguided evangelical Christian religious dogma, or the lies from the U.S. government that led to the war in Iraq, or the complicity of too many politicians, media voices, and others who were silent or even openly supportive of the Iraq War to avoid being branded weak or accused of appeasement in fear of losing their own positions of power and influence, or those whose racism and hate led them to try for over 8 years to discredit and destroy a president due to the color of his skin, or those who are silent or even supportive now as Trump and his cabinet raid the country for their personal gain, sell the country out to foreign powers in unprecedented ways, and have lowered the standing of the U.S. in the eyes of the world. I do believe in the principles on which the USA was founded, and I know that truly living up to those principles is always going to be a journey, not a destination. And I hope that the current aberration is just a momentary falter, and not a signal of a permanent collapse of those principles. But it seems that every day, that hope, my hope, seems to dim just a little bit more.
Be good. And if you can't be good, be wicked well.